Hello, everyone. What is going on? Today, I have a very special guest that's not asleep for once. I have Noelle Drew. Yeah. She has decided that she's wanted to do this stream with me. She's not caught up on One Piece. But we did start. We just need to plug away at it a little bit more. So, she is very excited to be here. As you can tell, she is hanging out, kind of looking around, seeing stuff. I think she saw herself on the camera in front of me. And overall, she's just excited to be here. I do have some interesting news. Not only do I have a co host, I have a new camera. Not a new camera. I don't know why I said that. My camera setup has slightly changed, obviously, to include her. But I bought a PC so I can game and I can stream on it. So it is a pretty high end PC. I bought it for myself basically for Christmas, with my wife's approval. So that way I'm able to stream with more guests and be able to do more fun stuff, more collaborations, things like that. So there will be more of that in the excuse me in the near future. So as always, thank you guys so much for the support. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Please subscribe if you haven't as well. And, just let me know your thoughts in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. If not, just say something in the live chat. Write down, hold on, I always get this messed up. Right down here. Oh, I got it first try. Look at that. I think I used the microphone as a reference point. Right down here is where I will be reading it. It has my logo. It is slightly transparent, and I am going to be reading it right there so you can follow along. So, yeah, it'll be like I'm reading you a story. So, without further ado, let's get at it. So, oh, got a burp, huh? You all right? You ready to read? Okay. Let's do it. So, we have the front cover of Shonen Jump, and we got Luffy with the 2026 in the front, just looking like, well, the head of Shonen Jump, basically. Because that's what he be doing. Looks super cool. He's in a cool kimono. I love it. So, let's get into Oda's notes with a little bit of water. Let's boost you up so you can see properly. Oda says, "My appreciation for Amy Winehouse has grown since I saw from Amy Winehouse. Since I saw her movie Back to Black. I learned more about the meaning behind her lyrics." That's interesting. Oda is a fan of music. Amy Winehouse is one of the best. It makes sense. Gone too soon before her time. But it's interesting. That's actually a little interesting. Are you excited? All right. We are in One Piece, chapter 1170. Contradictions. It says, cover request by 420 Ian. Jinbei as a ticket clerk for an eel train serving bentos. So we see Jinbei handing out bentos to like the kid versions of the Straw Hats. We got Luffy. We got what looks to be Nami. You see Robin getting handed them. Small Chopper, Sanji, Zoro, and Usopp. But we don't see Frankie or Brooke. Interesting. I mean, Robin is a little bit older than them. So this makes sense that she would be kind of like a teenager. But Brooke is way older. So is Jinbei. And Frankie's a decent bit older. All right. Let's jump into it. Are you ready? You ready for this? You ready for this? Let's do it. It says the hammer sneak attack, and we see Ragnar blast through and hit a pillar, and Loki's on the ground. And he gets up and he said, "Bastard, who threw that hammer? Come on out." Wow. And then it says, "There's got to be someone here. Whatever. I have to eat the devil fruit." And you hear chitter, chitter. And he's like, "Huh?" And he turns around and we hear chitter, squeak, squeak, crack, crack, crack. And he's like, "Huh?" And all of a sudden, it just starts cracking the ground underneath his. And Loki's like, "What? Is that funny?" And he's like, "Whoa, you've got to be kidding me. There's no way it's that heavy." I don't know if it's like a Mjolnir. Interesting. And he jumps on some of the rumble and says, "The hell is going on? Is this decrepit old castle just falling apart?" He jumps up and barely makes it, slams down. He's like, "Ugh." And then we see Harold, and he says, "Your efforts are futile, Loki. Generations of rulers have watched over that devil fruit, yet for centuries it has gone uneaten, not by choice." And it says, "But because no one could eat it, Ragnar simply hasn't deemed anyone worthy." So Ragnar is the one guarding the devil fruit. That's so interesting. Isn't it, baby? Isn't it, Noel? You're fun to have as a co-host. I like this. So Harold says, "But with my current strength." And then all of a sudden we see a sword and an axe covered with conchers and them just cutting his legs off. And he's like, "Yeah." And then Harold looks back and says, "Those wounds are already causing him a lot of pain." And then Shanks says his healing abilities are struggling to keep up. And he's like, ... And Gabon says, "Don't let up, and he'll eventually be driven into a corner. Folks like him are weak to Conqueror's hockey coding." Yeah, Conqueror's hockey coding. That's what's up. This is pretty crazy. I love that this one. A lot of people said that one of the myths that people have been portraying is that Shanks only unlocked Conqueror's hockey when he used it on the Sea King, and this is before that. So, in your faces, Shanks a goat. He been had Conquerors, and he uses Conqueror's coding here supposedly because the lightning coming off of their blades, and even Gabon is stating it. And Harold swings his axe down and says, "You dare oppose me? You dare oppose me?" And then we see them jump, and he's like, "Yeah." And it says, "You bet we can't let you run wild just because you've gone crazy." And then Shanks says, "Gaban, you're familiar with the weakness of the Knights of God?" And Gaban says, "I can't remember how many times they tried to take you back." What? That's so funny. That's so great. You know what? I like this. I like this a lot because this just means that Gaban and Rayleigh and Roger just kept packing up God's Knights. Just like, bro, stop it. Stop, child. Stop. And then he said, "That red hair boy, we know you have him. He looks like our captain's son. Hand him over." I know. I can't believe they try and take Shanks back. How crazy. And then he said, "Back then I'd slice him up and we'd send him packing." Crazy. And Shanks says, "Oh yeah, that Summers guy did mention something like that." And Gavan's, dude, yo, the episode. I need. Oh man, I need to see Roger just like one shot Sommers so bad. Like I want to see it because then then it's like Gabon, Rayleigh, and Roger all one shot Sommers like it's nothing. Because on God Valley, Rayleigh did it. Apparently, I mean, Gabon pretty much did it on Elbaf. Not to mention he's probably done it before, per this conversation. Oh, what? I don't like Sommers either. Do you want your pacifier? Come on, says, "Those were the days." And he's like, "Frankly, it's surprising that a fighting force like that originates from the Holy Land. Most celestial dragons are useless." And Shanks goes, "Those guys consider themselves divine, living sedentary lives and keeping well clear of our world." And Shanks said, "Meanwhile, my life's always giving me the chills." And he's like, "Huh?" He like says, "Dot, dot, dot. You can call that fate." And then they jump out of the way of Harold. And Shanks says, "Gabon, I want to save Harold." And it says, "But you're the one who told me how hopeless it is once someone becomes a Knight of God." And he's there, but Shanks is like, "I'm afraid Loki's our best bet." Interesting. I really love this characterization of Gabon, Shanks, and Loki, to be honest. This to me is like really painting a picture of like one, how strong Roger and his crew were because they were just mid-diffing holy knights, like it was nothing. But then the fact that Shanks here is not even a Yonko at this point, I mean, he's very much a young Shanks, and he's fighting with Gabon. Not on, I wouldn't say equal footing, but I mean they're both kind of sticking it to Harold, and Harold is strong. I mean, we know that from his interactions with Rox, and so I mean we know Gabon's strong, and but this is just like a really good showing, just because we also know that Harold is even stronger than when he fought Rox because he felt the power of being a God's Knight flowing through him, and he's immortal. It's kind of crazy. And then all of a sudden, we see Loki, and he says, "Don't make me repeat myself. Move it, Hammer." And he says, "Wheeze, wheeze. So you're basically the National Treasure's guardian. How can you even move?" And and Loki's like, "What's going on?" And the hammer starts flying towards him. And he's like, "I am so over this." And he smashes his hammer on Ragnir using Conqueror's Hockey. And he goes and he's like, "My hammer!" And then all of a sudden Ragnir falls to the ground from clashing with him. And then he like looks back and it's like dot dot dot. And then all of a sudden there's like a squirrel, like a chipmunk or something, and he's got the hammer as his on top of his head, and then he like gets one of those big old like welts on his head, and he's like, "Sheek," and he's like, "Shh." And then all of a sudden we cut back to Harold saying, "Be gone." And Shanks is like, "How are we supposed to end this?" And Gabon says, "Well, honestly, I've never fought one who has Conqueror's Hockey, too." Interesting. So none of the other God's Knights that Gabon has tackled with has Conqueror's Hockey. Which means they probably didn't fight Garling. That's what I would assume. Because I feel like Garling has it. Maybe that's just me. Interesting. Yarul comes and wakes up, and you hear, "Soldiers, stop Harold. We can't allow him to get his hands on that devil fruit." And you hear, "Gyaa!" And all these guards are getting decimated. And Harold has all these spears in him, but he's still kind of just walking through these guys. No problem. And then we see the chipmunk Ragnir. And all of a sudden, we see Loki. The chipmunk is like nodding in approval of Loki. And there's a little fruit, and he like picks it up in the palm of his hand and eats it and gulps it down, and all of a sudden you see him start to change, and his hair starts to spike out, and you hear a roar, and you see like these two eyes in the background, and then you see the hammer go squeak. And Ragnir is just like so happy. And then you see someone running through the pillars and halls. And we come to see Harold just with all the guards just slaughtering them. And Harold says, "Did you eat it, Loki?" And Harold starts swinging and he says, "Show me its legendary power." And then it's like he disappeared and just starts mopping up Harold. Just starts doing him mad dirty. Like taking bits and pieces out of him. He's so fast. He's so fast. And there's just like chunks taken out of Harold. There's all this. He's just getting fucking hit over and over again. And then we see this like darkness on the ground. And Loki holding Ragnar, cocking back with Conqueror's hockey. And Harold's like, huff, huff. I knew it, Loki. You have the blood of a conqueror flowing inside you. And Loki says, Huff, hey, if you've come back to your senses, then Huff. And then Harold says, it won't last. Don't drop your guard. And he says, look around you. Look around. I'm beyond redemption anyway. Loki says, you were being controlled, weren't you? And Harold says, not quite. It's more like that thing is influencing my thoughts. I started to consider myself a god. And they're like, huh? And it's like, and someone says, you have what it takes to lead Elbaf well. And it says, try to get along more with your brother, though. And he says, you're the worst, you know that? And it looks like Gabon is with Yorul and Shanks. And Loki says, having your own son take your life? What kind of father does that? And Harold says, one last thing. I almost forgot. I wanted to thank you about Ida. And Loki's like, what are you? And he's like, burning down Alcohol Village didn't make her better, but I was touched by how much you love her. And it looks like there's like a cut out of the abyss. Oh, when he was attacking him with Conqueror's hockey, he took a chunk out of his arm right where the abyss circle or the abyss contract was. And all of a sudden he like puts his thumbs down and he says, hurry, it's taking me over again. And Loki says, I'll never forgive you for making me do all the dirty work here. And Harold says, I love you too. And you see like the Conqueror's hockey just like going crazy on his hammer. And then like right before it makes contact, there's like a lightning, like little like spark. And then just a huge bolt of lightning comes down. And Loki hits him so fucking hard with Ragnar. It just obliterates him. Oh my goodness. Conqueror's hockey, lightning, regular lightning. He is vaporizing this dude. And Loki's crying and he says, he remembers, Loki, my dear son, the only thing that really matters is securing Elbaf's future. And you see Harold begin to die, and then you see the kids of Elbaf, and then the last thing says, we see like a silhouette of Loki crying out, and it says, only memories last. Holy, that was crazy, right? My goodness. That, oh man, this is tragic. Like him closing his eyes as Loki just berates him for making him do this, for making me do all the dirty work here, and him just saying I love you too is crazy powerful. Like, oh man. Wow. Him just obliterating Harold. That's crazy. Holy shit. Man. I'll never make you do that to me. Don't worry. Wow, what a chapter. What a chapter. Let's let's run from the top. Speed run. This whole thing of like Ragnar attacking him and like the little squeak and all that other stuff is like just so good. Burger Man J said he literally shattered him. Yeah, like the lightning basically just started vaporizing him from the point of contact, like which is insane. And you're right, it looked like it shattered him like he was like made of stone. Which it's kind of crazy. Like the fact that this hammer was like, giving him such the work, and Harold being like, your efforts are futile. Generations of rulers have watched over that devil fruit, yet for centuries it has gone like uneaten, not by choice. And it's like because no one could eat it, because Ragnar simply hasn't deemed anyone worthy. That's so interesting to me, and it's something that we didn't even talk about, and what a lot of people didn't even think about was that there was a guardian. Like that's so crazy. But I like it. I like this development. Shanks and Gabon kind of working Harold over is good, but it's kind of weird that they stop fighting him out of nowhere, seemingly. I also love that Gabon's like, yeah, they tried to keep taking you back, but we kind of just kept giving him the work because he's like, I can't remember how many times they tried to get you back. That's funny, implying the Holy Knights just kept trying, which means that, I mean, right here, they're on the sea, they're on a ship, which kind of makes me think that there's a possibility that Shanks, Shamrock, and Garling went to fight Whitebeard for something, and that's when Blackbeard scarred Shanks and Garling scarred Whitebeard. And it would make sense that when Whitebeard talked about the whole situation of like, every time I see your face, I feel this scar, you know, it would make sense that he would associate him with him because one, Garling looks like Shanks. But not only that, Garling was with Shanks when that happened. So he would associate him by looks and by the time that it happened. Somebody sleepy. And then the fact that Shanks brought up Sommers is hilarious because he packed him up in Elbaf too. The fact that Loki used Conqueror's Hockey on his hammer against Ragnar and just smashed it. And then he was like, oh my god, my hammer. And then he turns around and it's like a chipmunk with a hammer as a head, meaning that they gave Ragnar a devil fruit. So, and then on top of that, well, I guess here this kind of makes sense. It's kind of weird because Shanks and Gabon are fighting Harold. And then when Yarul says, soldiers, stop Harold, we can't allow him to get the devil fruit, most of the soldiers are just getting fodderized. And then we see Loki eat a devil fruit, which obviously can't be the chipmunk fruit. His like hands turn into like claws, his hair turns spiky, and he's like got these. He's big. and he's just running. And I love how the chipmunk's like, squeak. Um, and then he shows up, and it's almost like he looks at him and says, "Did you eat it, Loki?" And goes to slice at Loki, and he like disappears and then gets knocked back. And when he gets knocked back, that's when it cuts into him, and then he starts beating the crap out of him, and then it's like he reverts back to normal because we see like this silhouette of him, and it looks like he's grabbing Harold by the face. Like, hold on, let me zoom in a little bit here. You're okay. We're still reading. Yeah, he like has him by the face after he completely destroyed him, and then he reverts back to normal and has Ragnir in his hand. He just like cocks back with Conqueror's hockey, and Harold says, "I knew it, Loki. You have the blood of the Conqueror flowing inside you." Just, I don't know. But then, like, throughout this whole thing, we don't see where Scopper and Shanks are. It looks like they're right by Yarul. That looks like Shanks. And that right next to him looks like Gaban. Just this whole thing, and him being like, "I'll never forgive you for making me do all the dirty work here." And him just being like, "I love you too." And then just getting absolutely obliterated. Just so beautiful. So beautiful. So heartbreaking and so tragic, yet so beautiful. Man, getting all the spam phone calls. Just, man, so well done, so good. Just chef's kiss, really. Honestly, this chapter for me feels so good. I would say this is a 9. Right? Is someone sleepy? I'd say this chapter is a 9. Here, I'm gonna move you. I'm gonna move you into the pouch, so that way you can sleep. There we go. Huh? Okay. Yeah, this to me feels like a 9. Like a 9 chapter here. It's just so good. I'm very interested to see where this goes, obviously. And I really, really want to see what happens next. It doesn't say break week, but then again, we also got this chapter early. We should only be getting this chapter, like, scanlation wise, like fan translation tomorrow, but we got it a week early. So that means that we probably won't get a new chapter till next weekend. So we'll have to see how it goes. But man, Just heartbreaking. But yeah, this is definitely a 9 out of 10 chapter. It may be more. This is super heartbreaking, though. Loki having to do all this. But man, him being the worthy one who Ragnar sees as worthy and giving him the devil fruit. A devil fruit I can't wait to see what it actually is. It looks terrifying by the silhouettes. But I'm very interested to see what this is. So, yeah, no, this is a really good chapter. 9 out of 10 for sure. There's room for a few more points to be given here. And this double spread, just Oda cooks so hard with him just like hitting him with the hammer and like just vaporizing his chest. I feel like Loki is very strong. Like very fucking strong. And this just raises a bunch of questions. One, why didn't Scopper or Yarul say anything about this? I mean, maybe Yarul, because of the sword, lost his memory. Cool. Gabon did not. It's possible they all kind of made a pact after this to be like, hey, we're not going to run Harold's name through the mud. But I feel like, I don't know. And then, two, when Loki went out to sea, why did Shanks come and get him and then chain him up basically, unless he was doing it to make sure that Elbaf's treasure and that devil fruit stayed in Elbaf so that way Emu wouldn't be able to get his hands on it because that's what he wanted. That maybe makes sense. And then Loki wasn't going along with it, so Shanks says, I'll just beat you and do it anyway. There's some merit to that. So, very interested to see where we go from here. Because this technically is pretty much all we needed to get for Loki's backstory, right? We need to know why he killed Harold. This is the why, this is the how. But there's a possibility that maybe we see a little bit more before we go back to the present, i.e., the fallout of this whole situation and what leads Loki to get captured. Either that or that's what we find out later. So, overall, this is great. You know, I said that I thought that we would go back to Elbaf normal time right after New Year's. I thought that was going to be the next chapter after New Year's. I think that this is proving me right, or pretty close to it. So I think we're soon going to get that. And I'm excited for it. I'm super excited to see what comes next. Because we have Emu Gunko and we have Domi Reversi Giants and two other Holy Knights that need to get packed up. And we got the Monster Trio. We got the other Straw Hats captured up top. And then we got Loki and we got the new Giant Pirates. That's a pretty good square off. So I'm very interested to see what happens after this. So, but as always, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments in the live chat. This chapter was superb. I'm sad that I don't think that we're getting another chapter tomorrow. But this one was a good one. I like this a lot. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And always, as always, please make sure to be liking, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. And, help out with the YouTube algorithm in that way. But if we don't get a chapter, then you know what? You will see me the following weekend. I'll also be probably doing more streaming on maybe Twitch or something as I'm playing video games. And then also, I'll probably be doing more collabs now that I have a nice PC that runs really well. So, somebody is sleepy. As always, I am your boy, Nerdtaku, and let me know your thoughts because, like I say all the time, One Piece is better as a conversation, and I love having that conversation with you guys. So, I will talk to you guys later, and hopefully next weekend if we don't get a new chapter this weekend. So, I'll be right back here for 1171. All right, and Happy New Year.